Hello, I'm Infamous Fear. What's that? It's time for Infamous Queer!
Pride, 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 darling, darling, pride, pride 95!
The 1980s was a very gay time, as you well know. Fashion was at its most fabulous and over the top, and androgyny was in. Before the reality of AIDS hit, the 80s was also a time of glorious excess. In 1982, a Soviet director saw this world around him and decided to create something different. Have you ever wondered what would happen if someone made a cross between a Patrick Wolf music video and Plan 9 from outer space? Well, you're about to find out. This is Slava Zuckerman's Liquid Sky. We start our movie off with a stab of stupid-sounding synth music, indicating that this is the future! Oh, actually, it's the 80s. It's good to know that everything was just as teal and orange as it is now. We flick rapidly between scenes of some bored new wave people clubbing and some other random place. I think I've seen this club before. Suddenly, aliens arrive in a smoke detector. I mean, an alien spacecraft! Ed Wood would be proud. Then the camera briefly gets replaced with an MRI machine. But enough of that, back to the club. We see Draco Malfoy trying to buy some drugs. He can't get any, so instead he goes home with this woman, Margaret, in the hope that he'll find some drugs at her place. Hold on, both of them are played by the same person. Yeah, this movie's like that. I put on my robe and wizard hat.
Cut it out! I think you should leave.
And thanks for stopping the 80s music there, much appreciated. It's almost as monotonous as the music from Different from the Others. Oops, spoke too soon there. Then back to the club, where an early version of Lady Gaga is performing a song about her vagina. The crowd looks impressed.
Me and my rhythm box. Me and my rhythm box.
Draco trashes Margaret's place but can't find any drugs. It turns out that both Draco and Margaret belong to the same Aryan model clique. And scene change to a junkie who was only there to provide a title drop.
Liquid Sky, the key to heaven. Nobody thought it was destructive or dangerous. They didn't think it was immoral to feel euphoric.
But enough of that. Back to the club. This movie is giving me a strong sense of déjà vu. Hey, wait a minute, what's Radcliffe Hall doing here? I guess she's just here for the fashion show. We flip rapidly back and forth between the fashion show and the junkie in the kitchen. His girlfriend is telling him to stop taking drugs. Strangely, he doesn't listen, considering that drugs are so enthralling that Draco here wants them so much that he no longer cares about basic privacy. More clubbing! Okay, I'm getting really sick of saying that. I'm gonna outsource it. More clubbing! But then aliens landed on Margaret's roof. Do we get to see the aliens? Never mind that. It's not interesting enough for us when we can get back to the club and see Margaret asking some random man dressed in a stained glass shirt for cocaine. Stained Glass Man and Margaret go back to Margaret's house where he comes onto her and fuck, those are ugly tights. They make it look like her legs are bloodshot eyeballs. Margaret is pretty pissed off that the man doesn't have any cocaine, so he forces her to take Quaaludes while we get stabbed in the brain with a theremin. They fight. She doesn't want to have sex with the stained glass man, so he goes right ahead and rapes her on the stairs. The next day, some random guy arrives in town and goes to look at the flying saucer on Margaret's roof through a telescope. That's the flying saucer? That's fucking No budget, no budget. We've got no budget. Sheesh, even Ed Wood tried harder than this. Meanwhile, the junkie has turned up to the house that Margaret shares with her girlfriend Adrian, who we saw earlier performing the song in the club about her vagina.
Sweet, never forget the beer. Never eats, it never shits, it never sleeps.
Then they have a discussion about sexuality.
You like girls better than boys?
I'm always curious about people who have to make those kind of sexual definitions.
What do you mean?
Homosexual, heterosexual, bisexual. Whether or not I like someone doesn't depend on what kind of genitals they have.
You like both men and women.
What difference does it make to you?
So why aren't I reviewing this? Because I am.
I am the Gender Eliminator, and I have come to your divided earth to destroy needless definitions.
Hey, I'm kind of in the middle of a review here.
Silence! You are guilty, infamous sphere, guilty of withholding a false dichotomy, you with your gender distinctions, with your he and your she.
That's what I've always said.
No, two-toed creature, you do not go far enough. You think you stand for change, but you are weak. Your pitiful attempts to be above gender, to be too cool for it, to promote variance, does not stand with our race. We aim for purity, for ultimate homogeny. We do not subvert gender, we eliminate it.
Hey, wait a minute. That's just fucking stupid. Yes, some people don't want to put labels on their gender and sexuality, but for other people it's important to who they are. Who the hell are you to say that people can't define themselves as one thing or another?
As the Gender Eliminator, I eliminate all signs of gender that are scripted that weakens you.
But that's just as repressive and stupid as insisting upon a false binary.
It doesn't matter. My repression is far superior to the repression of the earth.
Guys, I'm trying to do a review here.
The infamous one dares to review the movie of my people.
Hey, wait a minute. Your people? You mean you fit inside that smoke detector? You're tiny enough for that? That thing's only about the same size as the bottles of Jack next to it.
We come in many forms.
I thought you demanded complete homogeny.
Cease communication.
How did you do that? Oh, I just took the batteries out of the smoke detector. Well, that was weird. Anyway,
Margaret is an uptight wasp cunt from Connecticut.
Margaret's girlfriend talks about what a bitch Margaret is, the junkie shoots up, we get stabbed in the brain with more 80s music. The next little bit is divided over 3 different scenes, and I'm not going to say how they flip back and forth because I already got sick of doing that with the clubbing. Scene 1. The random guy who arrived in town is a German scientist and he talks to Owen, a college professor, about the aliens. Scene 2. Margaret having lunch with Adrian, who was a total bitch about her rape. Scene 3. Draco having lunch with his mother. Apparently the aliens kill people when they have sex, and they've been killing people in different subcultures.
In the beginning, aliens were spotted in places with large amounts of heroin. Later, aliens appeared in specific subcultures, punk circles, still around heroin, and in these punk circles many more strange deaths have occurred. This alien is killing people.
We're briefly blasted over the head with more 80s music, and then Margaret goes to see Owen. Owen warns Margaret about Adrian, and the music makes me feel like I'm playing something on DOSBox.
All your costumes are just participation in some kind of phony theater.
Are you trying to say that your blue jeans were theater? So your professor wore a 3-piece suit and blamed you for your jeans. For him, your jeans were too much. And he didn't understand that his suit was also a costume. You thought your jeans stood for love, freedom, and sexual equality. We at least know we're wearing costume.
Ah, my lecturer for costume, fashion, and visual culture would be proud. The UFO German scientist goes to Draco's mum's apartment building, and she hits on him.
Well, it just so happens I have a free evening tonight. Why don't we go upstairs and discuss it over a bite to eat?
Draco's mum then orders a million different kinds of prawns.
Okay, I'd like 2 orders of shrimp fried rice, an order of shrimp and pea pods, an order of shrimp with lobster sauce, and an order of jumbo shrimp.
Back to the MRI machine. Margaret is having sex with Owen and oh look, the aliens killed him! Margaret pulls a giant glass spine out of his head, which magically disappears in her hands. Adrian gets home, finds Owen dead, covers him with aluminium foil and puts a neon halo on him, and then proceeds to perform a freestyle rap over his corpse.
You drop dead fucking. It suits you well. You go to hell. We'll go to hell. I'll go to hell too, but I know I'm damned. And you never knew.
But it turns out that Draco's mum and the scientist are watching. Kind of awkward because Adrian is trying to masturbate using Owen's face. However, that wasn't what they were looking through the telescope for. They wanted to see the spaceship.
That's an alien craft. Well, isn't it kind of small?
Ah, I love it when movie characters point out how bad the special effects in their own movie are. The 2 girls still have a dead body on their hands, though.
What are we gonna do with this body?
Let's fuck on top of it! No, they decide to have a wake, so Adrian goes to get some food and drink. The scientist finds her in the store and tries to warn her about the aliens. Strangely, Adrian seems to think that he's talking a whole bunch of crap.
Oh, shut your face, Scab. I don't play it your way. Just forget it. Fuck off, man. I don't need you, man, so just fuck off.
Meanwhile, the junkie has turned up at Margaret's apartment and tries to have sex with her. She then decides she just doesn't care anymore.
You're right. I'm a whore. I'll lie down and you fuck me, see? Because it doesn't matter to me because you don't exist. You're nothing. You're nobody. You just don't exist. You're just a fly.
Luckily, midway through being raped, the camera gets replaced with an MRI again and the junkie gets killed by aliens. Margaret realises she's having a fucking weird day and wonders out loud what she's going to do with the bodies. The aliens, being ever helpful beings, do this.
It did it for me.
The German scientist then gives us more exposition.
Well, it seems to be strange that the alien is interested in heroin, but there could be a lot of reasons for that. That there are special receptors in the human brain to receive opiate molecules. Opium users have said that the drug creates a similar feeling than what people experience during orgasm.
Back to Margaret and Adrian, who are currently molesting a chicken. Suddenly, everyone turns up at their house. Seems Margaret forgot that the models were going to do a photo shoot on her roof. A fashion editor is there and she tries to ask Margaret some questions. Adrian decides to answer them on her behalf, and we get a flashback to Margaret's childhood, except with brain-melting electronic music instead of the inoffensive jazz most people use for their photo slideshows. They then turn Margaret into Patrick Wolf, and after taking several photos, the fashion editor tells Margaret that she's tacky. Oh no! She's been called a cunt by her own girlfriend and raped twice in the last 24 hours. But this is the end. Mental breakdown, proceed!
You're tacky. What do you mean by wearing all this weird makeup and strange clothes?
Clothes.
Guys, if you're going to make a stupid statement dance remix, you need to remember to include the music.
You don't admit to dressing strange.
Ah, that's much better. But all this time, it seems we forgot about Draco Malfoy. The people on the shoot are now debating who is Miss America, him or Margaret. They get an idea.
That's what we should call this. Make it a series. The Two Miss Americas.
Great idea. And we could end it with the 2 of them fucking.
Draco, however, isn't really down with this, and he begins to think that he's in another movie set in a rooftop apartment.
You're just a chicken.
Chicken, Peter, you just a little chicken. Chip, 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 chip.
They then continue to insult each other.
Clock.
Oh, come on, that was a joke. I didn't expect you to actually actually reenact the room. Look, they even brought a female Tommy Wiseau.
Don't talk to her like that.
Don't touch me, motherfucker.
Margaret recognises that this can only be solved with good old-fashioned fellatio, probably because she wants her opposite-gendered clone to be killed by aliens.
Let me see your beautiful cock. Come on, baby. I'll do it good. Give it to me, baby.
Fuck her. Do it.
Well, I'm glad that didn't happen in Star Trek. Well, I'm sure there's a million fanfics about it. Anyway, so after seeing two people die after having sex with Margaret, what does Adrian decide to do? Have sex with Margaret!
I'll bet you $300 I can fuck Margaret and not die.
Of course she won't die. But I'm not sure if watching you two fuck is worth $300. But it sure sounds interesting. I'd like to watch, but I'm not sure Margaret's in the mood.
Adrian! You should stay away from me. I'm a killer.
You like to fuck baby better than anything in the world.
Margaret tries to stop her, but Adrian commences raping, and oh look, the aliens got her. Strangely, after being subjected to 3 rapes in the last 24 hours and having 4 people die on her, Margaret gets a little crazy.
So I was taught that I should come to New York, become an independent woman. And I was taught that to be an actress, one should be fashionable. And to be fashionable is to be androgynous. And I am androgynous not less than David Bowie himself.
Wait a minute? Hagen?
And I kill with my gun.
I bet she wishes she could do that.
Are you afraid? You're right. Because they're all dead. All my teachers.
Then, back to the club. Margaret has sex with the stained glass rapist, so he'll be killed by aliens. Impressive, Margaret. To become a serial killer, you have to kill at least 3 people within 3 months, and you've indirectly killed 5 people in less than 2 days. So the scientist and Draco's mum were still sitting there at the telescope, and the scientist decides to stop Margaret. He warns her, but she's gone insane, so this only results in him being stabbed. Margaret shoots up a whole bunch of drugs and climbs the roof to get to the aliens. Draco's mum and the junkie's girlfriend rush over to stop her, but they only get there in time to see Margaret having a hilarious spaz attack. Then the alien ship absorbs her and then flies away. The end! What? What? You mean to tell me that this movie has left you too speechless to do a little evaluation of Margaret and Draco? Huh. Yes, it has. I don't even know why I'm here. I'm going. This movie is a weird little piece of cinema and well worth watching. Unlike most of the movies I review, the characters here display a very laissez-faire attitude to sexuality, which is refreshing. It's far more common to see a character angsting over being queer, rather than seeing it as not much of a big deal. It's an interesting time capsule as well. When AIDS became prevalent, it became far less easy to be so blasé about sexuality and drug use, and this sort of lifestyle became steeped in morbidity. This is almost a revenge fantasy, or a reverse version of The Man Who Fell to Earth. Margaret, rather than being an alien who is forced to become human, feels a connection to the aliens and demands to be taken with them. Anna Carlyle, who plays both Margaret and the Draco Malfoy guy, is fantastic. She projects the perfect mix of sexuality and disaffectedness, and although both characters are alike, they are different enough to be easily distinguishable. If I have one criticism, it would be aimed at the music. It's painfully monotonous, and I started getting flashbacks to different from the others. Yes, it creates the right feel, but surely you could have made some electronic music that didn't sound like random stabs at a theremin and throwing things at a synthesizer? So So that was Liquid Sky, and if you'll excuse me, I've got to go and buy myself a new smoke detector.
Calling occupants.